The Splattershot is a middleweight shooter that has become one of Splatoon's flagship weapons. It's a basic shooter with an iconic look that gives players a lot of freedom in how they use it, allowing it to seamlessly fit into almost all comps in SalmonRun. Let's discuss how to get the most out of this weapon. Stats. Weapons have their damage buff for SalmonRun to account for the high HP of the enemies. The Splattershot is one of only a few weapons that has the same damage per shot in SalmonRun as it does in PvP, which is 36. Its DPS is average for the shooter class. It sits comfortably in the middle. This is also the same for its fire rate. It's not the fastest of all shooters, but it's decent enough to allow you to shred through most enemies. In November 2024, the weapon got a slight buff, a 3% increase to the speed of its shots, and extended flight distance. Very small differences if you only play casually, but noticeable the more you play. Its fall-off damage did get buffed for SalmonRun. It gives a minimum of 30. This is variable depending on how long the shots remain in the air before hitting their target. When you jump, you do lose accuracy, much like a lot of other shooters, so there is an element of shot RNG. However, it isn't as punishing as some of the other shooters. It's just something you should factor in whilst jumping. Its ink tank is respectable. You can fire continuously for approximately 10 seconds before running out of ink, and when throwing a bomb, you'll still have about 3 to 4 seconds worth of continuous fire afterwards. Ink recovers relatively quickly, and given that it's a shooter, it is fast when wanting to stop shooting and going into swim form. Like most shooters, your ink consumption per shot is low, and you generally have a lot of freedom in movement and repositioning. The Splattershot is no different. Boss slaying. There are no enemies that the Splattershot will struggle against, just by virtue of the fact that it's a shooter that has respectable damage, range, and ink efficiency. All bosses can be defeated with minimal difficulty. Bosses such as Steelheads, Drizzlers, Slamming Lids, Scrappers, and Steel Eels can be comfortably managed with or without support. Moors are fine with your ink tank, and you should find fish sticks easily manageable, whether you decide to climb them or just shoot them from the ground with jumping or using platforms to help. It's easy to run for statics such as stingers, big shots, and flyfish, and comfortably manage them and protect yourself. Given the weapon's good ink efficiency, you'll have no problem using bombs for bosses and to help combo the damage. It's hard to run out of ink with a Splattershot, but it's always good to be mindful of not overextending and dying quite far away. You're not invincible or the strongest shooter. You'll need to manage your ink tank well to ensure you don't lose control. Knowing when to retreat is just as important as knowing when to push forward. For night waves and king fights, you'll likely flex to whatever position that is needed. Sometimes you'll be paint support, sometimes you'll be a slayer, and sometimes you'll just assist with bombs. The Splattershot isn't good at just one thing. It's a jack of all trades that can fill gaps wherever needed. Let's discuss its role within comps. Weapon role. There's nothing fancy about the Splattershot. It is, quite frankly, a boring weapon that is easy to use and easy to get results with, but that's why it's good and it's why I love it. The thing I love most about the Splattershot is its ability to fit into every single comp. When I think of a standard shooter that has decent range, a good fire rate, decent damage, and a good ink tank, the Splattershot ticks all the boxes. There's something so satisfying in the mundane, and you'll always know what to expect with this weapon. There's no fancy tech, and there's no special roles that this weapon should take. It simply does anything and everything you need it to do. Flexible and adaptable are two words to keep in mind when playing with this weapon. You'll often not be the strongest weapon, and hell, sometimes there might be another shooter on a team that is faster or better at painting. But sometimes you might be, or sometimes you'll be forced to carry a wave because your friends with high skill ceiling weapons aren't able to fully maximize them. Your main role is flexibility and adapting to the other weapons and players in your comp. Getting loaned a Splattershot is like being gifted an old reliable tool that you know like the back of your hand. You know how to make it run, and you know the results you'll get from it. I often find myself playing this weapon in an aggressive but supportive fashion. As a fast ink efficient shooter, you can be everywhere rather quickly, and it's important to remember this and remember your capability to quickly paint or quickly kill. You're granted immense privileges as a shooter in SalmonRun, and so you shouldn't neglect your basic duties just because you want to flex to a slayer role. You're a great painter, a great bomb spammer, a great static hunter, hunter, and a great supporter. Yes, you're a great slayer too, but sometimes you might need to protect your teammates whilst they charge their weapons or paint their feet if they're struggling with being overrun. You're also not punished the way other weapons are. It's so easy to stop firing and to relocate to safety. You can substrafe with ease, allowing you to survive and move so freely across maps. You should be using the shooter privileges to help constantly keep a map painted and to help your friends if they need it. It's hard to run out of ink with a Splattershot, and I usually do my best to take full advantage of this. You don't need downtime to charge your weapon or much downtime to recover ink, meaning you can constantly apply pressure through turf, bombs and just generally attacking. To remain idle with a shooter like the Splattershot is to become ineffective. If nothing else, you're always able to paint, throw eggs and throw bombs. The Splattershot can be used in any way you see fit. The key to getting the most out of this weapon is recognising how you need to use it. Other weapons have rigid roles and can't do more than one thing. As the Splattershot, you should learn how to work around your team rather than making them work around you. If you're the only shooter on your comp, recognise what your teammates will need from you and do your best to cover gaps and weaknesses. I hope this video helps you appreciate the Splattershot a bit more. Thanks for watching. Bear in mind that I may have missed some stuff as I try to keep these videos short and snappy to help specifically with freelance strategy. Let me know what you think though. I'll see you soon.